Chapter 861, 861 Kingdom of Glory, Rongguang, 2. 861 Kingdom of Glory, Rongguang, 2. Wu? 11 looked doubtful and condensed a huge metal sword for Buggy to see. Buggy decisively wanted to prove itself. It condensed a worm silk and cut over, but in the next second, the worm silk only left a white mark on the black sword. This stunned Buggy. Then, it shouted angrily that 11 was a sore loser. How was this low-level skill hardening? This was clearly using superalloy to harden the fusion of countless hardenings. Using a transcendent-level super skill to bully its level-less skill, wasn't it too much? At the moment, 11 skills, even the quasi-divine skill Yin-Yang Millstone, were born from divine-level superalloy. If not for this skill, it definitely wouldn't have been able to achieve quasi-divine skills and mythical races. Therefore, Buggy immediately looked angry. Damn it, if its evolution skill was also transcendent, it might be able to become a mythical race. Turned a yeah. 11 expressed that Buggy couldn't do it. When it was free, it should come and 1 vs 1 its physique. Yee! As for the green dragon, won't it be better to use the imagination domain to create an environment suitable for the growth of plants? Baby Ginseng also asked. Its plant control proficiency had been raised to above perfection and was moving towards transcendent. As its ability increased, Baby Ginseng had more and more ideas recently. If it could have the gardener god, Green Dragon, as its assistant, would definitely help it improve at lightning speed. Buggy? Could they ask some normal questions? Green Dragon wasn't a gardener. Buggy turned around and looked at Kai Tong, Susu, and Ling 11 and Baby Ginseng were too unfriendly. Gee. At this moment, it patted its chest and expressed that it would thank Susu and Ling well. After all, these two had helped it a lot in evolution. It would try to help condense Susu's Star Sea and Milky Way domain. On Ling's side, it would also do its best to work with stronger abilities to assist in the research of the mechanical phantom beast system. Nink. Tilda? Yeah. Susu and Ling nodded in satisfaction. Gee. However, at this moment, Buggy realized that Kai Tong's expression was a little depressed. It was stunned for a moment and couldn't help but comfort it. Gee. By the way, when my power of faith increases and the proficiency of the dragon-raising skill increases to perfect reincarnation, can you also turn me into a green dragon undead through undead revival? At that time, the green dragon undead and the reincarnation main body will be invincible. I'm not as timid as Baby Ginseng. Baby Ginseng? So they were still thinking about using the time mark to create the undead Ginseng baby. In addition, was the faith reincarnation skill for it to cheat? Its believers would cry to death. Mimi, Kai Tong was worried because it calculated that it seemed to be the only one in the team who had never evolved. In essence, the spirit release skill was still to unseal the power of its bloodline, like atavism, not evolution. It was thinking when it could also undergo evolution like 11 and Buggy. Asterisk knocked out smiley asterisk, tilde woo woo woo. As it thought about it, Kai Tong started crying. It was so difficult, it was so bitter. Of course, it was basically impossible for the current Kai Tong to waver its heart and emotions over such a small matter. However, after seeing 11, Buggy, and even Baby Ginseng's invincible evolution, Kai Tong was a little envious. At that moment, it was purely for show. It looked like a drama queen, pretending to be pitiful. Shiyu, who was meditating. I understand. I'll arrange it after the world competition, Shiyu promised. Am I? Yay! Shiyu sighed. Unfortunately, he had never explored any Vermilion Bird ruins or Phoenix ruins with extraordinary power in his previous life. Otherwise, he would also want to help Kai Tong evolve. Shiyu knew that 11 and Buggy could successfully evolve because of their mental domains. If they left this, it might be an ordinary racial optimization. There would be no huge increase. There were no quasi-divine skills or faith skills. However, in theory, Kai Tong's interlocking sword also had a chance to penetrate the power of yin and yang. After all, everything had two sides of yin and yang. In fact, compared to the phoenix and the vermilion bird, Shiyu still preferred the image of the sword. After all, he could also use it after possessing it. If he didn't like it, he wouldn't have swung a wooden sword around during the vocation assessment. Therefore, if there was a chance to help Kai Tong evolve in the future, Shiyu planned to revolve around the concept of the sword and not the sun god phoenix race. With the successful cases of 11 and Buggy, his thoughts became bold. What vermilion bird sword and Shen Yuan sword? He just had to bet. He would directly use skill fusion to bet and fuse a quasi-divine skill, directly jumping to the mythical race. Rongguang, a country that believed in light. Apart from the Beast Tamer Association, under the alliance system, Rongguang also had two major battle power institutions. Together with the association, they were known as the three major battle power institutions of Rongguang. These three institutions were respectively the Beast Tamer Association, the Glorious Knights Order, and the Divine Church of Light. The latter two were all related to the light element. At the moment, Rongguang could be said to be extraordinarily lively. As the country closest to Inatella, before the World Tournament began, the beast tamers from the other 6 countries who participated gradually arrived. Shiyu and the others were no exception. After completing their evolution in the starry sky, their direct destination was Rongguang. A spaceship that descended from the starry sky quickly descended outside Rongguang. Even with Rongguang's technological power, it didn't detect this uninvited guest from outer space approaching its country at a high speed. Chapter 862, 862 Glory Kingdom of Light, 3. 862 Glory Kingdom of Light, 3. Yes? Rongguang, the legendary hall. Rongguang Hero King was currently receiving the legendary beast tamers, Tingxiang Elven Empress, 7 Islands Valkyrie, and Yiminghua Death God. With the World Tournament imminent, legends of various countries appeared one after another. At this moment, they were gathered in Rongguang. The next 7 legendaries still had to supervise the archaeological conference. The 2 mythicals and many legendary resources in the Alliance Bank could only be distributed with their approval. Although Rongguang's technological methods didn't detect a terrifying spaceship descending from the sky, it still couldn't hide from the Rongguang Hero King's perception. This seemingly old but extremely burly man in white armor immediately looked at the sky. Everyone, the legendary of Dong Huang has also arrived. Do you want to meet him together? The Rongguang Hero King suggested. The divine source has arrived? But this old man actually used a spaceship to travel? The Elven Empress of Tingxiang was speechless. Dong Huang. The 7 Islands Valkyrie, who was wearing a battle-type kimono and had long black hair, spoke in an unfriendly tone. After being extorted by Dong Huang and Dragon Palace City, she had never been very happy since she woke up. Her face, which was not inferior to the Elven Empress, was filled with hostility. As a mechanical cyborg, her appearance was the youngest among the legends. This way, we're still short of Shui Yuan and Shen Feng, an old man with silver curly hair wearing special purple clothes and a hunched body said lifelessly. A portion of his clothes was tied with a white bandage. Forget it. Seeing that these guys had no intention of welcoming the legendary of Dong Huang, the Rongguang Hero King shook his head. In that case, he wouldn't go either. He would directly call the legendary of Dong Huang over. Oh, have you noticed me? At this moment, in the spaceship that was still descending quickly, the mechanical legendary muttered to himself. He had already received the Rongguang Hero King's voice transmission that crossed the void, inviting him to meet directly. What's wrong, Senior Divine Source? In the spaceship, Shiyu, who had already prepared to step into the Kingdom of Glory, was studying the parchment. After arriving at Rongguang, the first thing he did was to run to the hatching altar left behind by the Space Emperor in Rongguang to assist Ling in studying the final starlight. It's nothing. I originally wanted to stop outside the border of Rongguang and enter normally, but now that I've been discovered by Rongguang's legendary, he invited me to go directly to the capital. In that case, let's directly descend there. All right, then let's go over directly. Hurry up and meet President Lin and the others, Shiyu said in anticipation. In short, the mechanical legendary still didn't care. He still had to talk to President Lin about gathering the power of faith. The mechanical legendary nodded. Soon, Shi Yu and the others crossed the void and descended in a rarely populated suburb of Rongguang capital. The huge spaceship disappeared. Shi Yu got down from it. The round robot-shaped red eye of the mechanical legendary looked into the distance. Next, contact President Lin and the others. I want to see the legendary of Rongguang. All right. Shi Yu nodded. At this moment, the mechanical legendary was in a good mood. The meeting of the legendaries of the 7 countries was like a parent-teacher meeting. At that moment, the mechanical legendary had already judged that it was very likely that his child would get first place in the exam. His mood would naturally be a little strange. He had already begun to look forward to the shocked expressions of the legendaries of the other 6 countries when they saw the appearance of a super genius like Shi Yu in Donghuang. Then, the mechanical legendary disappeared in the blink of an eye, leaving Shi Yu sighing on the spot. This guy was really not worried that he would encounter danger. Let's go. Shi Yu hummed 2 nursery rhymes and took out his communication device. He was also in a very good mood as he went to meet President Lin, Principal Feng, and the others first. Rongguang capital. President Lin was discussing the archaeological conference in 2 days with the president of the Rongguang Association and the president of the multinational associations. At this moment, although he wanted to communicate with Shi Yu as soon as possible, he really couldn't leave. After Shi Yu learned of it, he decisively came to look for Principal Feng, Senior Lu, and the others. The buildings in the capital of Rongguang were mainly white. The temporary address of the Donghuang team was also arranged in a beautiful white building complex. You're finally here. Principal Feng still didn't know what Shi Yu had gone to do. In any case, it hadn't been a day or 2 since Shi Yu liked to run around. When he saw Shi Yu, Principal Feng immediately said, "How's the preparation for the archaeological conference?" "It's about time. When the time comes, I'll just participate directly and fight for a mythical resource." Shi Yu smiled and said, "Principal Feng, where's Senior Lu?" "She went to Rongguang to visit everywhere. She must have gone to eat with Teacher Ying." Shi Yu looked doubtful. "In that case, I won't delay any longer. Then I'll directly find the Starry Sky Hatching Altar," Shi Yu immediately said after greeting Principal Feng. Principal Feng had a headache. Shi Yu was really a busy person, but it was also a good thing. All right, it's just that Rongguang has been mixed with good and bad people recently. At this moment, there are more than 100 legend beast tamers gathered in Rongguang capital alone. "Stop it, don't cause any trouble." "How could that be? I'm such an honest person," Shi Yu said seriously. "If you were an honest person, so many ruins wouldn't have cracked." Rongguang Legendary Hall. Upon the invitation of the Rongguang Hero King, the mechanical legend, Divine Source, arrived immediately. After he arrived, the legends present also looked at Divine Source's temporary body in silence. Chapter 863, 863 Kingdom of Glory, Rongguang, 4. 863 Kingdom of Glory, Rongguang, 4. However, no matter what this person turned into, many legendaries present didn't dare to underestimate him. Divine Source. Along with the mechanical legendary came the legendary of Shui Yuan, Snowfield. He pushed the door open and entered, not caring about the other legendaries in the room. "That person in the starry sky is indeed your Donghuang's beast tamer, right?" "What starry sky?" In the room, the Elven Emperor smiled and said, "You guys went to explore the starry sky again? I was wondering why Divine Source drove the spaceship over." The Snowfield Battle God said, "Then you have to ask Divine Source. Donghuang just caused quite a commotion in the Silver Ring Belt." "You're pretty well informed," Divine Source said indifferently. "What happened in the starry sky?" the Rongguang Hero King asked. "Our beast tamer carried out a mission in the Silver Ring Belt and discovered a beast tamer in a spacesuit controlling a green dragon in the starry sky." "Green dragon, the green dragon you're talking about, do you mean a green dragon, or, the 7 Islands?" Valkyrie glanced at him. "The 4 spirits of heaven, green dragon, that legendary creature." If nothing goes wrong, your Dong Huang should have cultivated a creature extremely similar to the green dragon, right? It can even mobilize the power of faith related to the green dragon. What? The expression of the 7 islands Valkyrie changed. Among the 7 countries, the 2 countries that knew the green dragon the best were definitely Dong Huang and the 7 islands that were most affected by Dong Huang's culture. At this moment, when she heard that Dong Huang had even evolved into a conceptual divine beast like the green dragon, the 7 islands Valkyrie was immediately stunned. To be able to mobilize the power of faith of the green dragon, in terms of potential, the weakest version of this was at least at the demigod level. It was no wonder that the legendary of Snowfield was so excited. There were also many beast tamers on the 7 islands and many transcendent creatures that tried to evolve the green dragon, but none of them succeeded. How did Dong Huang do it? How did it mobilize the power of faith of the conceptual god? Many legendaries instantly looked at the divine source. It's not that exaggerated. It's just closer to the green dragon, the mechanical legendary said calmly. It was just a quasi-mythical race that could casually summon a few meteorites. It wasn't worth paying attention to. After all, the guy still had 2 mythical races in the team, as well as the blue sea sprite that was not inferior to the green dragon. Calm down, calm down. It's actually true? The Elven Empress was stunned. Then, she felt stifled. How lucky was Dong Huang? She recalled Shiyu, who had contracted a mythical race, the Wind Kareen. Who is it? Vader asked. Legends like the Rongguang Hero King and the Minghua Death God looked at the Dong Huang mechanical legendary and wanted to ask who it was, which beast tamer's pet it was, or if it was personally cultivated by a member of Dragon Palace City or Divine Source. This was an achievement that had never been achieved in the legends of Dong Huang. In this generation, someone actually did it? However, Divine Source couldn't be bothered to tell them directly. Instead, it said to the Snowfield battle god, speaking of which, why did your Snowfield run to the starry sky again? The Snowfield battle god sat on the sofa and said, stop changing the topic. You don't have to say to know that it's either archaeology or training, Divine Source said. Both, right? However, archaeology in the starry sky. Looks like your Shui Yuan is determined to get the mythical resources of the Alliance, the mummy-like short old man said with a smile. Which one does Shui Yuan fancy? There are only 3 mythical resources left in the Alliance, right? When the time comes, will we choose 2 out of 3? Doesn't that mean that whoever chooses first will benefit, the Elven Empress said. Mythical resources. It was impressive, but not impressive. If the legendary resources cultivated overlords by 100% and totems by 10%. Then the mythical resource was 99% when it came to cultivating to totem level. However, being the remaining mythical resources left in the Alliance, it was definitely not a top-notch mythical resource like the Undying Fruit. Otherwise, it would have long been schemed away by the various countries at that time. What was left were some mythical resources with relatively harsh conditions. Named Heart of Eternal Frost. Attributes, Ice. Introduction: it's an ice heart that contains the power of the ice element law. It can freeze the flow of life, but the user can't revive from the eternal freeze before comprehending the ice law. This was a mythical resource that could make one almost eternal. It could make one fall into an eternal frozen state through the eternal frozen heart. In this state, one's life wouldn't be lost, and it was equivalent to a different kind of eternal life. Moreover, one could comprehend the law of ice during this process and become an ice element demigod. It looked like a very top-notch mythical resource, but the conditions to use it were extremely harsh. This was because if one couldn't comprehend the ice law, it was equivalent to completely dying and forever being unable to break through the seal. This was not the only mythical resource. It came from the snow land in the extreme north. 2,000 years ago, a top-notch totem used another eternal frozen heart. Unfortunately, until now, that top-notch ice element totem had yet to break through the seal. Its race had already been extinct, and the era had already changed, but it could only sleep in the ice. It could be said that using this resource required great patience. It was equivalent to directly sleeping for thousands of years. When the user woke up, the seas and lands would be different already. Name: Soul Pearl. Attributes: undead. Introduction: it's a wisp of soul from the mythical era. It's in a deep sleep. Its energy level has maintained at level 10 mythical until now. The second resource was even more scammy than the first mythical resource. The first resource at least let the user see hope of becoming a demigod, but this one was purely scamming. Chapter 864, 864 Kingdom of Glory, Rongguang, 5. 864 Kingdom of Glory, Rongguang, 5. Firstly, one didn't know if the remaining soul in the pearl was friend or foe. Even if one purely treated it as a resource and prepared to devour the soul with the huge soul power as a strengthening resource, one had to be wary of the remnant soul inside that might counterattack. It could be said to be extremely dangerous. Although devouring such a huge soul power was basically not a problem to reach the totem level, there was also a risk of being possessed. Name: a world tree fruit. Attributes: wood. Introduction: it's the fruit of the world tree. It increases comprehension. Among the three resources, the only one that wasn't scammy was the world tree fruit. This was a gift from the world tree to the Seven Nation Alliance in the last world tournament and had been preserved until now. It was similar to the blessing effect of the world tree. It could increase the pet's comprehension and allow a pet to train a super skill to transcendent proficiency in an extremely short period of time. It could be said that eating this fruit could also let one become a totem, and it would be a totem that was purely cultivated by oneself. Its battle power would be very strong. If nothing went wrong, if the 7 countries could choose resources, they would definitely want the world tree fruit. After all, this was the most stable and had a wide range of applications. Similarly, the legendary resources stored in the Alliance were more or less problematic. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been left until now. However, although there was a problem, it was still a mythical resource. As long as they didn't pay a huge price, everyone wanted it. It's in the capital, Sai, although it's also a suburb. At this moment, Shiyu didn't know if he should be happy or sad. At this moment, he had already arrived near the designated location of the hatching blueprint. Rongguang, the Heavenly Fox, the 7 Islands, and Tingxiang. Among the 4 countries, Tingxiang and the 7 Islands had locations that were isolated. There were few people, so they casually went over. As for the Heavenly Fox Nation, it was very difficult to deal with in the nest of Overlord-level creatures. As for Rongguang, it was probably even harder to deal with in Rongguang capital. Shiyu and the others descended in the east of the capital of Rongguang. Shiyu passed through the center of the capital and arrived in the west. Soon, Shiyu arrived outside the huge family courtyard called the White Rose family. The map told him that the last hatching altar to hatch the space beast egg might be inside TSK. However, after investigating outside the courtyard for a moment, Shiyu surprisingly discovered that this legendary White Rose family was really not simple. It was actually passed down from 1,000 years ago. The White Rose family's talent is White Thunder. Hundreds of years ago, the princess of the family fell in love with the Space Emperor Dong Huang and married from afar to become the 19th concubine of the Space Emperor. In hundreds of years, the White Rose family didn't decline and was glorious. Even now, it's still a huge monster that can still produce several legends. It was actually a family that had a marriage alliance with the Dong Huang Emperor family in ancient times. The Space Emperor must have established the Starry Sky altar here at that time. Forget it, I'll just visit directly and get straight to the point. As long as the altar is still around, there's definitely a way to use it. If the altar isn't around, then it's not around anymore. In any case, the altar in Tingxiang isn't around either. At most, Ling's research mission would be a little heavier. It was White Thunder talent. It was referring to the White Thunder skill. Why did Shiyu feel that it was so familiar? Had he encountered a beast tamer with similar talent somewhere? His expression gradually became strange. Who are you? Just as Shiyu thought of a possibility, a female voice came from behind. He immediately turned around and saw a man and a woman walking over. The woman was in her 20s. Her long golden hair was combed into a ponytail. She was wearing a white knight suit with golden patterns on it. There was a knight sword at her waist. The man was about 20 years old and was also wearing a similar knight suit. Shi Yu was not unfamiliar with this suit. It was the battle suit of the Knights of Glory. The Knights of Glory was similar to Dong Huang's Beast Tamer troops, but the organization was even looser. At this moment, when he saw the man and woman, Shi Yu sighed in his heart. As expected. At this moment, the short-haired young man in his 20s looked at Shi Yu, who was wearing a white casual suit with an iron-eating beast pattern, and widened his eyes. "You're Fu Andy," Shi Yu said. He was wondering why the White Thunder talent was so familiar. Wasn't this the beast-taming talent of the Rongguang beast tamer who went to ancient capital university to challenge a year ago? The other party's father was a member of the last Dong Huang World Tournament, but because his wife was from Rongguang, he settled here. It was rare for this Fu Andy to follow his father back to Dong Huang. In the end, before he could warm up, he was beaten up by Shi Yu and 11. It reminded Shi Yu of the book "A Friend from Afar Must First Suffer His Willpower." "No, my name is Fu Jian," the short-haired young man said angrily. This guy was casually wrongly remembering other people's names. "Is it someone you know?" The tall woman in the knight suit looked at him. "Cousin, this person is Shi Yu, the one who defeated me at ancient capital university. He's also the #1 person below the legend level of Dong Huang, one of the contestants of the Dong Huang World Tournament." Fu Jian's expression was complicated. Ever since he returned to the country, he had been cultivating hard, hoping to defeat Shi Yu one day. However, Fu Jian originally thought that he could only find the chance to go to Dong Huang after he reached the legend level. However, to his surprise, with the arrival of the World Tournament, the communication between the 7 countries became more frequent. He once again obtained the opportunity to follow the Rongguang exchange team to Dong Huang. But this time, he heard a lot of bad news. Who knew the complicated feelings he, who was still at the master level at that time, had when he heard that Shi Yu had defeated the Space Emperor's secondary pet and become the #1 person below the legend of Dong Huang? Chapter 865, 865 Glory Kingdom of Light, 6. 865 Glory Kingdom of Light, 6. Who knew his complicated feelings after learning that Shi Yu had developed the epoch-making green silkworm cocoon system and the mechanical phantom beast system? Although he had also broken through to the master level, Fu Jian instantly felt that his sweat had been eaten by dogs after working hard for so long. He was smart enough not to challenge ancient capital university again, to avoid asking for trouble. However, Shi Yu actually came looking for him. "You Shi Yu?" The woman in the golden ponytail said in surprise. "My name is Lucille, a contestant in the World Tournament, a legendary beast tamer, Fu Jian's cousin." She had also heard her elders mention this Shi Yu. He was very talented and had extraordinary strength. In his early 20s, it was probably not impossible for him to defeat an overlord level head-on. Hello. There was actually someone familiar. That was easy. This legendary father of Fu Jian was from Dong Huang after all. It shouldn't be a problem to welcome him warmly, right? At the thought of this, Shi Yu smiled. Just as he was about to say something, there was a boom in the distant sky. A huge black vortex condensed. This change made Lucille and Fu Jian's expressions change. They quickly turned around. What's going on? Shi Yu also frowned and looked over. He felt a huge energy wave surge from the other side. This situation was like the descent of a ruin's mystic realm, but it wasn't completely similar. Soon, he realized. Demon Nation, Lucille muttered. Her words made Shi Yu even more certain. In the next second, Lucille summoned a holy lightning beast and flew over. Seeing this, Fu Jian didn't hesitate. He summoned his lightning beast and followed. Shi Yu scratched his head. The geographical location of Rongguang was very special. They were in the same spatial position as the enemy country's Demon Kingdom. The reverse space of the Rongguang nation was the Demon Kingdom. It could be seen as a super totem country in the same geographical location as the Rongguang nation, but in different spaces. Therefore, it was very easy for Rongguang to invade the Demon Kingdom or the Demon Kingdom to invade Rongguang. Because of this, ordinary people were often bewitched by demons and fell into darkness in Rongguang. Damn it, Shi Yu muttered. He had just found a guide and something happened. The Demon Nation was also an invited country to the World Tournament. They should have signed a truce agreement. It was impossible for them to come and cause trouble at this time. After all, at this time, Rongguang had gathered many legendaries of the 7 countries. The other party shouldn't be so bold. However, if the Demon Kingdom wanted to come to this space, they had to descend into Rongguang. Perhaps they were passing by? It should be fine. Shi Yu sighed and chose to follow Fu Jian and the others. In the sky outside the capital of Rongguang, accompanied by the Black Cloud Hole, a pale and handsome humanoid creature with grey hair and a pair of huge black wings descended into the sky. His body was filled with an incomparable dark aura. The pressure instantly made the plants outside wither, making the sky dark and gloomy. His eyes were filled with abyss-like magic power, as if it was the purest incarnation of darkness. Fallen Angel, Aldrich. The commotion caused by this creature's descent was very big. Not only did Shi Yu and the others sense it, but the Rongguang knights and beast tamers stationed nearby also rushed over immediately and looked at this evil humanoid life form in horror. Aldrich! What are you doing here? Lucille rode her Overlord race pet, the Overlord-level Holy Unicorn, and rushed to the scene immediately. She looked at the other party with hostility, but she was very nervous. Although she knew that it was impossible for the Demon Kingdom to act recklessly at this time, due to the other party's powerful pressure, Lucille, a legend, still couldn't breathe. Even someone like her was already pressured, let alone other beast tamers. Fallen Angel, Aldrich, the eldest prince of the Demon Nation, an invincible overlord. He was born of the demigods and humans of the Demon Nation. 20 years ago, when he descended into the world, a phenomenon descended from the sky, and even the entire Rongguang lost the light for an entire day. It was said that Aldrich had 2 souls in one body. He was both a human and a fallen angel, a hybrid life form that had mastered his beast-taming space, beast-taming talent, and top-notch extraordinary power at the same time. Because of this, no matter what, Rongguang wanted to eliminate this threat at that time. Even if it was at the risk of starting a war, it was unwilling to let this fallen angel grow up. It was only later that the 7-Nation Alliance used some unknown method to confirm that Aldrich's beast-taming space could only contract with itself that they gave up. Fallen Angel Aldrich ignored the beast-tamers of the Rongguang nation below and looked into the distance. He had other things to do this time. He wasn't here to find trouble with Rongguang, so he naturally couldn't be bothered with this group of people. Moreover, in his opinion, these people were too weak and not worth paying attention to. These humans who were merely looking at him were covered in sweat already. They were not on the same level as him. Weak guys, the fallen angel Aldrich emitted a powerful aura, and a deep voice came from its mouth. At this moment, more than 10 Knights of Glory and dozens of civilian beast tamers had already arrived. Their strength was different. The weakest were only at the professional level. Apart from a legend beast tamer like Lucille, the strongest was also Fu Jian's father, who quickly rushed over from the White Rose family. However, even he, an old legend, was covered in sweat in the face of the mockery of the fallen angel Aldrich. The transcendent-level royal deterrence wrapped around the other party's body was too strong, and it was difficult to look at it directly. Chapter 866, 866 Kingdom of Glory, Rongguang, 7. 866 Kingdom of Glory, Rongguang, 7. Aldrich. However, although Aldrich was very powerful, this was human territory after all. Legend Fu subconsciously prepared to fight back forcefully. Using words, he planned to expel this guy from the border of Rongguang first. But at this moment, no one expected that the fallen angel Aldrich, whose gaze was filled with arrogance and whose expression was insufferably arrogant just now, suddenly had a drastic change in expression and suddenly looked in a direction. Like a beast's intuition, the fallen angel Aldrich's gaze instantly landed on Shi Yu, who was leisurely walking over in a panda casual suit. Then, he was covered in sweat. Roar! When it met Shiyu's gaze that contained a golden luster, the fallen angel Aldrich seemed to see a green divine dragon entrenched in the starry sky roaring in its spiritual world. At this moment, with a crack, what shocked the fallen angel Aldrich was that in an instant, its spiritual world seemed to be at risk of shattering. A huge fear rose in his heart out of thin air. An extremely strong mental strength told the fallen angel Aldrich that the life in front of him was extremely dangerous. It was far more ferocious than any ordinary totem in the demon kingdom. If he became enemies with it, there would definitely be the threat of death. How was this possible? The fallen angel Aldrich looked at this ordinary human in shock. Its entire body had already stiffened. It didn't understand what was wrong, didn't understand why it was so afraid when it saw the other party. "What are you looking at?" Shiyu, who had arrived slowly, looked at the fallen angel looking at him in the sky. This was the first time he had seen an angel. However, it was actually not a female angel. Bad review, and the dark aura was too strong. Bad review, probably only the Glory Divine Church could contract and summon a light element angel. In Shiyu's eyes, this fallen angel was undoubtedly better at acting tough than him. It actually wrapped deterrence around its body at all times. Although the other party's deterrence level was indeed high, it was very rude, all right? In order to defend against the other party's indiscriminate pressure, Shiyu could only connect his mind with Buggy. It was this action that directly broke Aldrich's defense. "What are you looking at? What are you looking at?" At this moment, many Rongguang beast tamers looked at Shiyu, who had spoken to the fallen angel, in shock. They didn't know where this kid came from, but what was even more unbelievable was that at this moment, Aldrich no longer had his previous arrogance. Instead, he looked at Shiyu with a serious expression. "Who are you? Who are you? Can you retract your deterrence?" "It affects the environment very much," Shiyu said. At this moment, Aldrich was silent. He was rather afraid of Shiyu and directly didn't say anything. He put away the deterrence wave and turned to leave. On the spot, Shiyu looked at this strange guy and shook his head. Name Aldrich. Race, Fallen Angel. Attributes, Dark. Race level, High-level Overlord, Quasi-mythical. Level of growth, Overlord. Energy points, 98,380,000. Introduction: He is the eldest prince of the demon nation. He has 2 souls in one body and is extremely dangerous. He's suspected to be one of the participants of this world competition. This guy was indeed capable. He was much stronger than the heirs of the Dragon Empire and the Dark Knight Forest. However, if the trump cards of the Totem Country were only at this level, things would indeed be stable. He felt that a Buggy could sweep through everything. When facing the heirs of the Dragon Empire and the Dark Knight Forest, he still had to be careful, but now, he was invincible. At this moment, if the Rongguang beast tamers present still didn't know that Aldrich was very afraid of the young man in front of them, they wouldn't be able to survive. Even Lucille and Fu Jian looked at Shiyu in extreme disbelief, not understanding why Shiyu could make Aldrich so afraid and make him feel like he was facing a great enemy. "You're Shiyu?" At this moment, Legend Fu, who had also arrived at the scene, suddenly recognized Shiyu and said in disbelief. "Impossible. Even if it was a titled legend, he couldn't make Aldrich so afraid, right?" He instantly recognized this kid who, at the same time, beat up his son and Legend Yin's son, making him the culprit behind their worries. Chapter 867, 867 times Sprite. 867 times Sprite. After the fallen angel was shocked away, many gazes landed on Shiyu and the young man who had appeared out of nowhere. From the looks of it, there was still a huge difference between Dong Huang and Rongguang. With the example of Legend Fu, everyone present quickly determined that Shiyu might be an Easterner. Legend Fu. Shiyu didn't pay attention to Aldrich for too long. Instead, he looked at his black hair and eyes. Although he wasn't young anymore, he was still considered a handsome legend. As expected, if one wanted to marry well, his strength and appearance couldn't be too poor. "Don't you have to chase after that birdman?" Shi said. Legend Fu was silent for a moment before saying, "There's no need. We've already raised our guard just now. Now, the titled legends and mechanical guardians of the capital have already locked onto it." "That's good." Shi nodded. As soon as he finished speaking, Lucille was still a little stunned. She looked at Shi and said, "Was Aldrich very afraid of you just now?" It wasn't impossible for an invincible overlord with 2 souls like Aldrich to fight against totems above his level. Just now, he was actually sweating and extremely nervous when facing this Shi in front of him. "Why?" Shi smiled and said, "I'm also very curious why he looks at me like that." "Bullshit." After Shi finished speaking, everyone looked at him and felt that it was ridiculous. If he didn't know, would he dare to talk to an invincible overlord of the totem country like that just now? Aldrich was very afraid of Shi. There was only one possibility: he sensed a threat from Shi, and this threat might come from Shi himself, or it could come from external forces. At this point, Legend Fu was extremely silent. In fact, he was very unwilling to believe that Shi, who was still in his first year a year ago, could have the strength to threaten invincible overlords a year later, even if Shi was currently the #1 person below the legends of Dong Huang. He was more willing to believe that as an important researcher of Dong Huang, Shi had received very strict protection. He even had a trump card that was enough to threaten the totem. Aldrich could sense it. Only then would it make more sense. Of course, it was difficult for him to determine what it was without evidence. "Miss Lucille, I was halfway through my sentence just now. I actually came this time to visit the White Rose family. Are you free now?" Shi said immediately. At the legendary meeting. Not long after, the news of the descent of the Demon Kingdom's Prince Aldrich arrived. This guy. The Rongguang Hero King had an unfriendly expression and said, "He's getting more and more arrogant. I wonder how arrogant it will be after it steps into the totem level. I should have killed it back then. But speaking of which, you should know Shi, right, Divine Source? My subordinate said that he only looked at that fallen angel and scared it away. Did you give him any mechanical equipment? You protect this genius who developed mechanical phantom beasts very well." Ah. The mechanical legendary was stunned. Why was Shi related to Aldrich again? As for mechanical equipment, he had this thought at that time. However, when he thought of how Shi had 2 Overlord-level pets with energy values exceeding 100 million, a divine beast cub with quasi-divine skills of luck, and the ruined space that could be teleported with casually on Blue Planet, Divine Source felt that unless he gave him forbidden weapons, no equipment was useful to Shi. As long as Shi didn't go to the demigod's territory to wander, there would basically be no problem. Although Aldrich was strong and was known as the creature closest to a mythical race, he was still a little inferior to Shi. Such a courting death young man should be protected well. I hope he won't come to the 7 Islands again. Upon hearing the name Shi, the 7 Islands Valkyrie said coldly and looked at the Divine Source legend. The culprit of the 7 Islands incident was this Shi. The 7 Islands Valkyrie knew very well. Although Shi had changed his identity, it was not difficult for a legendary expert like her who was proficient in the power of space and time to investigate the cause and effect. Don't pout your face on all day. At this moment, the Elven Empress smiled at the 7 Islands Valkyrie and comforted her. However, no matter how one looked at it, her smile was very weak. In addition, don't think of bullying Shi. He signed a contract with our courtyard elf. Before the 7 Islands Valkyrie could say anything and ignore the Elven Empress, the Divine Source legendary wanted to complain about the Elven Empress. She actually took advantage of his sleep to tie Shi with Tingxiang. That brat Lin Xiao didn't know to look after Shi. What was there to contract with elves? It was better to contract another mechanical phantom beast. At this moment, the Rongguang Hero King, the Snowfield Battle God, and the Minghua Death God couldn't help but be interested when they saw that this #1 person below the legends of Dong Huang was remembered by so many legendaries. They might not know who Yixing and the Divine Bell were, but Shi, who had recently developed a mechanical phantom beast, was undoubtedly a newbie who could leave these legendaries with fresh memories. Next, Shi got his wish. Under the reception of Legend Fu, Lucille, and Fu Jian, he arrived at the White Rose family. No one was surprised that Shiyu had come to Rongguang. After all, the World Tournament and the Archaeological Conference were imminent. No matter which one Shiyu participated in, he had to come to Rongguang first. However, why was Shiyu visiting their White Rose family? In an elegant living room, Shiyu looked at the steaming tea leaves in front of him and went straight to the point. Senior Fu, the White Rose family should have a deep relationship with the Space Emperor hundreds of years ago, right? Chapter 868, 868 times Sprite, 2. 868 times Sprite, 2. It's a certain little princess of the White Rose family who was once the concubine of Senior Space Emperor, Fu Chuanqi said after being stunned. This was recorded in the White Rose family. Why was Shiyu asking this? I want to know if Senior Space Emperor left a special altar with the White Rose family at that time. Legend Fu, Lucille, and Fu Jian looked at each other in surprise. Legend Fu said, Dr. Shiyu, how do you know? There's indeed a special altar passed down from ancient times in the White Rose family. It's just that no one knows the specific function of this altar now. It's just that it's easier to sense the power of the starry sky near the altar. Shiyu revealed a happy smile and said, there really is? That's right. This altar is actually an altar to assist in absorbing the power of a specific starry sky. It was established by Senior Space Emperor to hatch a certain starry sky pet. As for why I know, it's because when I explored the Space Emperor ruins, Senior Space Emperor's pet, the Void Mantis, not only entrusted the pet egg to me to hatch, but it also told me the location. Therefore, my intention is to borrow the starry sky altar of the White Rose family. I wonder if it's all right? This is Legend Fu never expected that the sealed altar of the White Rose family was actually used to hatch pets. He said almost without hesitation, of course. This was also left behind by Senior Space Emperor. Shiyu's friendship was greater than the value of the starry sky altar. Soon, Legend Fu came to such a conclusion in his heart, so he made his own decision without needing to discuss with the family. Thank you very much. It was as smooth as Shiyu imagined. He immediately said, then, Senior Fu, can you bring me to see that starry sky altar now? All right. Legend Fu nodded. It looked like he was doing pretty well with the White Rose family. He had the right to speak. That made sense. After all, he was a legend-level character. To be able to be a legend contestant in the Dong Huang World Tournament 20 years ago, his talent and strength were definitely worth affirming. Soon, under Legend Fu's lead, Shiyu arrived at the back mountain of the White Rose family and arrived at the dusty starry sky altar. Shiyu was especially happy to see the last starry sky altar. I wonder how long it will take to hatch the pet egg with this altar, Fu Chuan asked. About 1 to 2 days. I can't be sure of the exact time, Shiyu said. Then why don't you stay here for the next 2 days, Dr. Shiyu? I'll get Jian to arrange a place for you to stay. Fu Chuan looked at Fu Jian and said, you can let my good-for-nothing child learn from you. At the side, Fu Jian's face darkened. Damn it. Back then, when he was beaten up at Ancient Capital University, this father didn't have this face. At that time, Fu Chuanqi told him that if he worked hard, he wouldn't lose to anyone. Why had Shiyu become a role model now? Thank you. Shiyu nodded. Since Legend Fu was so polite, he naturally had no problem. But just me guarding the altar is enough. I have the ruined space with me, so I can stay there. Legend Fu said, all right, in that case, if you have any needs, just call Jian or Lucille. Shiyu nodded again. Then, he looked at the starry sky altar. He took out the space beast egg that had also been sealed for a long time and placed it on it. In the next moment, the starry sky hatching altar was activated. A dazzling light connected the starry sky and the altar. The white and purple striped pet egg on it absorbed nutrition to its heart's content. Seeing this, Fu Chuan and the others revealed shocked expressions. This altar was really an incubation altar. Their gazes carefully locked onto the pet egg. The pet egg left behind by the Space Emperor. This legend even spent a lot of effort to choose an incubation location overseas. What kind of creature would hatch? Ling, I'll leave this to you. Please take care of the hatching process of the pet egg. Following that, Shiyu summoned Ling, who looked like a Rubik's Cube. Under the purple summoning array, Ling's image gradually appeared. Absorbing starlight this time was actually a small matter. The most important thing was to let Ling further deduce the different nutrients needed for the hatching of this pet egg. At this moment, as Shiyu summoned Ling, Lucille and the others were slightly stunned. Level 6 Beast Tamer. Shiyu was indeed not a legend. Such strength reduced the possibility that the fallen angel had been frightened away by Shiyu just now. However, as a Knight of Glory, Lucille wore a detection device. At this moment, she silently looked at the energy value of the mechanical little Rubik's Cube in front of her. Energy points, 22,710,000. Monarch level mechanical life form. This energy value should be an explosive state after a skill increase. It couldn't be the normal state, right? Alright, Master. After Ling received the order, it immediately looked at the pet egg. Dr. Shiyu. At this moment, she looked at Ling and Shiyu. The Knight of Rongguang, Lucille, who had just encountered the fallen angel Aldrich, said, Dr. Shiyu, when you have time, can you spar with me? Lucille, who had a long golden ponytail and was wearing a white knight suit, said. As expected, she was still quite concerned about the situation just now. Lucille wanted to verify if Shiyu had relied on his own strength or external forces to scare the fallen angel Aldrich back. She had always been extremely curious, and this time was no exception. Chapter 869, 869 times Sprite, 3. 869 times Sprite, 3. Cousin, beside her, Fu Jian was shocked. Wasn't this a loss? Dong Huang publicized that Shiyu was a level 6 beast tamer, the number 1 person below the legend level. As a legend, regardless of whether she won or lost, wasn't it meaningless? No problem, but wait until the pet egg finishes absorbing the nutrition, Shiyu said with a smile. All right. Lucille nodded and said, then I'll wait. Seeing this, Legend Fu didn't stop him. He also wanted to see Shiyu's strength. Just now, did he rely on external forces, or was it Shiyu himself? After bringing Shiyu here, Fu Chuan and the others didn't disturb Shiyu anymore. Soon, only Shiyu and Ling were left at the starry sky altar. Research was the most boring. It was definitely impossible for Shiyu to study here with Ling. He immediately went into a daze and looked inside the legendary ruins. When they returned from the starry sky, because of the pressure, Little G, Ducky, and Chi of the second team fell asleep and rested. However, after sleeping on Baby Ginseng's special incense bed for a while, the 3 pets woke up. At the moment, Little G and Ducky were still commander rank. Because Ling had more missions, it temporarily didn't have time to study Little G, so its strength didn't increase noticeably. As for Ducky, it should be able to improve pretty well after a while. It was mainly because Baby Ginseng's plant control had been upgraded to above perfect level. If it could reach Transcendent, the effect of the reincarnation fruit it created would definitely be better. At that time, perhaps the duck could rely on the reincarnation fruit to complete its evolution and return to its abyssal demon duck state. Now, because of the World Tournament, Shiyu didn't have time to care about them for the time being. As for after the World Tournament, Shiyu planned to stop adding points for a period of time and pay more attention to the second team to rest. He had been exhausted recently. After all, the second team didn't need to add points. If he brought them to play, he could take more time to meditate and cultivate or even slack off. At this moment, Shiyu's gaze landed on Chi. After waking up, Chi changed into the Thunder God set and ran to the Heavenly Thunder Zone for special training. After Chi joined the team, in order to train Chi better, Shiyu upgraded its Umbrella of Time. With the help of a team of 6 pets, he spent another billion to buy various materials. They created 6 sets of armor and replaced the previous weapons and equipment. At the moment, Chi was wearing the Purple Thunder God set. It was made of light metal armor and a purple saber. When this image appeared, Qi would enter 11's thunder armor state and obtain powerful strength, speed, and lightning resistance. At the same time, the saber in its hand could allow it to summon the power of natural lightning. In order to train Qi's control over the power of nature and will, the artifact spirit was temporarily removed by Buggy. The originally powerful battle equipment instantly became a life-threatening training device. Every time she finished training, Qi felt that her body didn't belong to him. Apart from the Thunder God set, there was also the Gravity set, Sun God set, Machinery set, and so on. Sword skill, Heavenly Thunder Slash. If it weren't for the fact that baby ginseng's nutritional supplements and medicine were powerful enough, Qi didn't even know if she could persist in such arduous training. RIP. Heavenly Thunder District. In an area with rich lightning energy. Qi, who was wearing the Thunder God armor set and holding the Thunder God saber, looked at the sky with a burning gaze. As she triggered it, the black thundercloud in the sky instantly struck a thick heavenly lightning. The heavenly lightning was like a dragon as it surged over. Under the strong wind, Qi's gaze was firm as she made a posture of drawing her saber. When the heavenly lightning descended, her pink hair instantly stood on end, and lightning lingered around her body. The tachi in her hand swung at the heavenly lightning in an indistinct manner. Swoosh! The lightning sword light and the heavenly lightning instantly collided. A small portion of the heavenly lightning was immediately cut open, but in the next moment, a terrifying lightning directly swallowed Qi in an instant and sent her flying dozens of meters away with a boom. Qi, knocked out Smiley asterisk. So numb. If not for the Thunder God armor, Qi would have lost consciousness. After returning from the starry sky, her willpower level has finally reached low. Qiyu looked at Qi's situation and smiled. This level of willpower had already caught up to baby ginseng and the others before the National League. It looked like Qi was still talented. Qi's will level had broken through, which also meant that Qiyu was prepared to let her learn mythical revival. Of course, not through direct teaching. Otherwise, even with the sea cleansing spirit, low-level willpower was still too difficult. Instead, she learned through the memory water drop that Qiyu, Ling, and Sudu had prepared in advance that contained the entry-level mythical revival experience. Coupled with the cleansing sea spirit left behind by Sutu to cleanse the poison dragon, even if it was a low-level will, it shouldn't be difficult to master mythical revival. It was just that it might take longer. At the moment, Qi had yet to master any transcendent skills and could only rely on equipment to use them. However, it wasn't a big problem. When she learned mythical revival and had a more solid foundation, after awakening some divine power, Qiyu was prepared to give her the legendary resource, the nature fruit, that he had obtained from Tingxiang. At that time, with the power of nature and 6 sets of armor, even if the divine power didn't awaken, she could have pretty good battle power. Qi. Qiyu entered the ruined space and came to Qi, who was lying on the ground and had yet to recover from his paralysis. Sure. At this moment, Qi couldn't even speak coherently. It was as if she had eaten 10 pounds of pepper, and her pink hair trembled. Qiyu sighed and said, "Suspend training. Switch to Life Set." Chapter 870, 870 times Sprite, 4. 870 times Sprite, 4. Upon hearing that, white light immediately flickered on Qi's body. The purple Thunder God light armor turned into a blue-white dress with lace. She wore a white pantyhose with water droplet patterns and changed into a priest's dress. The so-called Life Set was a life-saving set. The entire set of clothes was made by Buggy, Baby Ginseng, Susu, and Ling together. It contained the power of healing and life and could temporarily transform into a support healer. Through the staff brought by the Life Set, a moment later, under the effect of the healing and cleansing power, Qi slowly recovered, as if it had been reborn. If you're done resting, prepare yourself. We're going to learn new skills today. This is the key to activating your bloodline power. New skill? The pink strand of hair that exploded from the lightning moved and revealed a happy expression. Yes. Qiyu smiled and said, "It'll be very painful, but Susu will help you." Qi, knocked out Smiley asterisk. Pain didn't matter anymore. She was already used to it. After dozens of days, who knew what she had experienced? Outside, Ling was studying the space beast egg. In the ruins, Shiyu had already called Susu over and taken out the memory water drop he had prepared. Shiyu had already used the memory water drop to learn skills countless times in his team. This was the only channel that could allow the pets in Shiyu's team to quickly practice non-racial skills to Dao proficiency. It was equivalent to various pets imparting their skills to each other and teaching their teammates the skills they were good at. And now, Qi wanted to accept the cultivation impartation from Ling. Mythical revival was a skill that only the two of them in the team could learn. Even 11 of the mythical race couldn't. After all, 11 was a first-generation god and didn't have an ancestor to return to. Naturally, there was no mythical revival. What awaited it was endless divine evolution. Then I'll start. In the state of the life set, Qi took a sip of the crystalline memory water drop and began to close its eyes. At the same time, Susu's cleansing spirit also possessed her body, strived to prevent her from losing herself while searching for the power of a god and receiving the experience of super skills. How long will it take? Shiyu looked at Qi and touched his chin with anticipation. Ning, Ning. In Susu's experience, it would take at least half a month to receive the experience of the memory water drop. At that time, the world competition would probably have already started. There's no hurry. This is only the beginning, Shiyu said. If Ling wanted to master the initials Wind Blessing, it would have to use perfect level mythical revival. If Qi wanted to master space-time transmission, it probably couldn't be done without mythical revival above transcendent. It was destined to be a big project. He still had to use it with the reincarnation fruit. At the moment, ordinary reincarnation fruits were useless to Qi. He wondered if baby ginseng would be useful after leveling up. Shiyu's thoughts drifted away. He wondered if she would still be willing to return if she had the chance to bring the Dragon God to the era of the Dragon Emperor. If it didn't return, the Dragon God's seat in Dragon Palace City would be empty. If he let Buggy go up, he could also collect the green dragon faith in the ocean. Cough, 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 he was dreaming. Ooh? Just as Shiyu was imagining how to use the divine skill space-time travel, less than 2 minutes after using the memory water drop, something unexpected happened. A powerful aura spread from Qi's body. Beside him, Shiyu and Susu's expressions changed almost immediately. This aura? That's right, definitely not wrong. It was the racial pressure from mythical creatures that could only be experienced on 11 and Ling. What was going on? It had just used the memory water drop with the experience of mythical revival, and it reacted? Or could it be that the time sprite reincarnation was different from the situation of Ling and Senior Lu's pets? As the aura on Ling's body became stronger, the other pets in the legendary ruins began to be attracted. 11 and the others' expressions were extremely serious. After devouring the memory water drop and trying to come into contact with the power of mythical revival, Qi felt that it was starting to have a very long dream. She dreamed that she seemed to have become another creature. Time Sprite. Born in the mythical era, it was born at the mythical stage. It was the favorite of the power of laws in the world and mastered the power of time and space transmigration. It was the most unique existence among many mythical creatures. Although it didn't have very strong battle power, because it had mastered the power of time and space transmigration, even the strongest life form in the mythical era couldn't pose a threat to the Time Sprite. It was precisely because of this ability that the Time Sprite developed a playful, lazy, and carefree personality. After all, its ability was invincible and could support it in anything. In the mythical era, the Time Sprite was also such a special existence. Even the divine beasts that stood at the peak couldn't do anything to this law sprite. The Time Sprite could travel to the past and future space with its mood. This ability was simply unsolvable. Unless one mastered similar laws, there was no way to punish this guy. The Time Sprite had originally been living carefreely in the mythical era. From time to time, it would go to various mythical races to play pranks. Its life was very relaxed and leisurely. But one day, Blue Planet was invaded by external enemies, and the Time Sprite was the first to bear the brunt. As a precious lore sprite, it was treated as the primary hunting target. In the mythical war, in order to avoid danger, the Time Sprite was forced to travel through time and space and escape to the future. Chapter 871, 871 Time Sprite, 5. 871 Time Sprite, 5. However, who knew that in the future, the rules on Blue Planet were incomplete and the space-time was unstable, causing the Time Sprite, as a lore sprite, to be unable to adapt to the current environment. Its power gradually disappeared. Under pressure, the Time Sprite could only choose to constantly reincarnate and wait for the space-time laws to recover. The reincarnation life form it chose was the Nature Elf race. This was because this race lived in the forest and was aloof from worldly affairs. They were carefree and free. Usually, they planted flowers and plants, and they reproduced on their own. It was very compatible with her lazing personality. At the same time, it prevented its reincarnation from encountering too many setbacks and tribulations. Apart from that, the physique of the Nature Elf race was also very compatible with the natural power of lore, making it convenient for it to recover as soon as possible. Next, it indeed spent its life naturally in the forest most of the time. Through mythical revival, the Time Sprite kept receiving its memories. The memories of the Time Sprite and the memories of the reincarnations were all very beautiful. At this rate, as long as she slacked off for dozens or hundreds of years and waited for the power of the Blue Planet's natural order to recover, she could recover her strength and memories and become a Time Sprite. However, the Time Elf never expected that there would be a big problem with this reincarnation. It wasn't that the internal strife of the elves had caused the extinction of the natural elves. This wasn't important. Although the reincarnation this time couldn't live in the forest without worries because of the internal strife of the elves, reincarnation into a little princess of the royal family wasn't bad. Although it was a little useless, at least it could do whatever it wanted without worry. Originally, spending a lifetime like this was also a good choice. As long as this generation of reincarnation quickly recognized reality, there would be no problem even if it was a nobody. It would also be a very happy life, but the Time Sprite never expected it. At this moment, a great villain appeared. First, it tricked its reincarnation out of the palace. Then, it threw demonic special training at it. Her physical body passed through a snowstorm, her body endured heavenly lightning, and she jogged in the sea of fire. Even if she slept, she had to train in her dreams. In just dozens of days, the Time Sprite felt that the pain it suffered was more than all the hardships it had suffered since it was born. Even after the destruction of the mythical era, it didn't suffer any grievances. It was very difficult for the Time Sprite to imagine that its heart and spirit would actually be so heavily injured in just dozens of days. And the goal of all of this seemed to be for the other party to awaken her consciousness in advance? It was angry, aggrieved, and dissatisfied. It could clearly directly obtain the power of the natural order to travel through space and time. Again, when the power of the natural order recovered. Why did this guy use such a brutal method to awaken it? After receiving the memories and figuring out the cause and effect, the Time Sprite opened its cherry-colored eyes and looked at Xiyu with anger. She would remember this. Xiyu? At this moment, Xiyu was stunned. What happened? Why was Qi looking at him so angrily? Where was that obedient little elf? Shouldn't she be happy that she had obtained the power of a god? Chapter 872, 872 Living Mythical History. 872 Living Mythical History. The Time Sprite. Facing Xiyu's gaze, Qi's gaze was filled with grievance. What a loss. She finally knew what Xiyu meant by having a lot of potential. Mythical, lore life form, Time Sprite. As long as it could awaken its power, it would be the most unsolvable mythical creature. However, there was clearly an easier awakening method, but he chose the most difficult one. Although she understood that Xiyu was doing this for her own good, Qi still felt very uncomfortable. After all, it had suffered more these few days compared to since it was born. The deep painful memories, compared to the memories of lazing around, immediately left a huge psychological trauma on Qi. At this moment, Qi was completely under pressure that she shouldn't be exposed to at this age. It was like someone who had studied hard for more than 10 years and worked hard for years to save up the down payment for a house, only to suddenly learn that he was a billionaire in the first place. She sat on the ground like a confused little shark. Qi, you've awakened your memories? At that moment, Shiyu also discovered Qi's abnormality and was slightly stunned. Qi looked at Shiyu. I've awakened, and I know that as long as the time is right, I can immediately obtain my original power. Qi had nothing to live for. Dozens of days of hard work were in vain. In vain? Damn! Shiyu was silent as he looked at 11 and the others. Why was this salted fish tone so similar to the gem cat? He seemed to know why, although Qi was a reincarnation, its willpower at the start was still extremely low. Perhaps she was also a hooligan when she wasn't a time sprite. Otherwise, it was impossible for her to have such a deep grudge after just training for a few days. Yi. When the time is ripe, it means the recovery of the world's laws. Baby Ginseng widened its green eyes and asked. There's also the recovery of the power of the space-time dragon vein, Qi said. She immediately revealed a determined expression and looked at Shiyu. Lord Shiyu, I apply to stop training. Let's go find the space-time dragon vein. Although her strength had yet to recover, she no longer wanted to train hard. It was too painful. The most important thing now was to find someone powerful and bring her to the space-time dragon vein to recuperate and wait for her to completely recover. Qi looked at Shiyu with sparkling eyes. Although Shiyu was a little ferocious, she still acknowledged Shiyu very much. He actually recognized her at a glance and even helped her awaken her memories in advance. He was even stronger than those demigods. In addition, Shiyu's team had 2 mythical races. Even in the mythical era, Shiyu was considered very powerful. Most importantly, she only knew one expert now, which was Shiyu. She wasn't even familiar with the Elven Empress. Grandma Ji Lin was right. This Shiyu was so mysterious. Woo! At that time, can you recover to a time sprite? 11 asked in anticipation. Qi nodded again. Sob. Then you can bring us to space-time travel. 11 wanted to return to the Emperor Wu era to see the iron-eating beast core and beg for some inscription metal to spend the remaining skill points. After all, it could fuse skills later. 11 thought that the more racial skills there were, the better. Mi. Kai Tong wanted to go to the Time Emperor era to see Mu Huiyin. Probably. As long as everyone doesn't reach the mythical stage, I can bring everyone through space and time, Qi said. Its ability was limited. Although it could bring other lives through, it was only limited to those below the mythical stage. The stronger it was, the greater the consumption, including itself. It was also because of this restriction that the time sprite didn't have much battle power. This was to better adapt to the rules of space-time travel. Then can we go to the mythical era? Shiyu's eyes flickered. No. Qi immediately looked afraid and said, I don't want to go back. Is it because the mythical era was invaded by creatures from outer space? Shiyu suddenly realized that Qi, who had awakened the memories of the time sprite, seemed to be a living mythical history. Damn, couldn't he just ask her directly about the mythical era? Yes. Qi widened his eyes and said, and they all want to catch me. If I didn't run fast, I would have definitely been caught. At this point, Qi immediately became indignant again. It would remember this grudge. Shiyu was speechless. Your mentality still has to change. Looks like the training still has to continue. You can't go to the dragon vein to recover directly. Qi? Even if you don't go to the mythical era, according to our speculation, the end of the mythical era isn't the end of the war. In the future, when the mythical era is about to revive, Blue Planet will definitely encounter a disaster. At that time, the group of guys who want to capture you will make a comeback. Wouldn't you still be forced to escape? It's endless. You have to learn to face it. Qi's expression was slightly stunned. Again? Therefore, it's better to continue training, Shiyu said. Try to ensure that whether it be returning to the mythical era or the descent of future enemies, you have the strength to defeat them personally. This way, you don't have to keep running away. Most importantly, you've already trained for dozens of days and suffered so much. Wouldn't it be a loss to give up midway? You might as well go all out. Turn grief and indignation into motivation. Shiyu's words were like the bewitchment of a demon that kept echoing in Qi's ears. The experience of training hard in Tingxiang Imperial Palace and suffering under Shiyu's hands immediately made Qi feel more and more at a loss. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. The reason why she fled for so long seemed to be because of that group of ferocious beasts from outer space. But, Qi said, the stronger I am, the greater the burden of using spatial travel. Therefore, before that, I can only weakly mobilize the power of nature and don't have much battle power. Chapter 873 Living Mythical History, 2. 873 Living Mythical History, 2. Shiyu said, we've analyzed it. So far, the index still showed that it couldn't teach any skills. It looked like this was the characteristic of the time sprite race. However, it didn't seem to be a big problem. Shiyu pointed at the clothes on Qi's body and said, then carrying dead tools to transmigrate shouldn't consume that much energy, right? What if you can control an armor that's comparable to a god's battlesuit? That's the same. You can be considered to have powerful battle power. Qi was slightly stunned and looked at the priest suit she was wearing. She recalled his improvement in the past few days. From a weak sprite, with its equipment, it was enough to split apart snow and lightning. This was... Qi was stunned. Oh, so this could happen? It seemed really possible. Qi's gaze suddenly flickered. Then, continue training? Qi suddenly felt that it didn't seem that difficult to persist after so many days of hard training. At least, compared to 11 and the others' training, her training was already easy enough. That's right. The corners of Shiyu's mouth curled up. However, soon, Qi had another problem. She asked eagerly, can there really be a battlesuit comparable to a god? Before Shiyu could answer, 11, Buggy, and Baby Ginseng cried out like wolves and tigers. Simple. As long as their main bodies had the strength to crush divine beasts, it was not a problem to jointly create a battlesuit comparable to a god. He believed in them. In fact, he could choose not to believe them, but he had to believe in adding points. If it really didn't work, he would replicate a pile of skills to create equipment. That's fine. Shiyu also nodded. Simple. With Qi's spatial teleportation, he could have any resources he wanted. With it around, the entire team could become stronger. At that time, if the entire team became stronger, it would be equivalent to praying to become stronger. Then continue training. Qi's heart was immediately filled with fighting spirit. She didn't even notice how much her personality had changed in just dozens of days. Buzz! Qi immediately changed back into the Thunder God set. She held the Tachi and planned to continue training, but soon she was stopped by Shiyu. Wait, there's no hurry. Tell me more about the mythical era first. Shiyu remembered. Damn, was there still an archaeological conference later? The more explosive the information obtained, the more resources there would be. There were a total of 2 myths and 10 legends. Initially, Shiyu only had the Wind Kareen mechanical phantom beast. The reason for the end of the mythical era was these 2 archaeological discoveries that could be used in this archaeological conference. But now, Shiyu looked at the swaying Qi and suddenly realized that this living mythical history might be a mythical archaeological cheat. About the mythical era? Qi said. Well, for example, what are the creatures that invaded Blue Planet like? Qi immediately became nervous and said, at that time, I only remembered 3 races. One is a huge beast that can devour the laws of the planet, and a group of strange bugs that can devour life to complete endless evolution and master the devouring laws. Also, a group of monsters that like to spread pollution sources. Giant beasts, bugs, pollution sources? Shiyu's expression was solemn. A race that liked to spread pollution sources, the Western Abyss Sea or Yunan's race. Or could it be that they belonged to a faction in the first place, including the guy who polluted the elven motherlife tree? They were all one faction. A group of strange bugs that could devour life and complete endless evolution? Could it be the kind of monster that chased after the wind Kareen? Devouring life, infinitely evolving, devouring laws. It reminded Shiyu of the infinite devour skill. In fact, Shiyu immediately felt that the enemies he encountered in the mythical era seemed to be a little troublesome. From the sound of it, they were not easy to deal with. But soon, his thoughts cleared. Forget it, it was still far away. There was still time to develop. Perhaps when he died, the disaster still wouldn't have arrived. There's no need to be afraid. Shiyu placed his hand on Chi's head and rubbed it to feel the feeling of touching the head of a mythical creature. It was indeed more charming than rubbing pandas and slimes. I'm not afraid. Chi's gaze contained lightning. She held the tachi and said, I really want to obtain powerful battle power now and transmigrate back to the mythical era. When those guys invaded Blue Planet, I'll defeat them one by one and shock everyone who knows me. Shiyu? Something was wrong with her. He was just giving him a simple encouragement. Why was she even more serious than 11? Was she reliable? After President Lin was done, he immediately contacted Shiyu, wanting to know what was going on with the Green Dragon change in Donghuang. In the back mountain of the White Rose family, Shiyu sat on a stone chair and said, it wasn't much. I just succeeded. A quasi-mythical race, with 2 faith skills, so I mobilized the power of faith. President Lin, oh, it wasn't much? He called the evolution that caused the changes in the Green Dragon's faith items worldwide nothing much. Where are you now? On the other side of the screen, President Lin shouted with his eyes wide open. It actually, really succeeded? He couldn't understand Shiyu's team configuration anymore. Pandas and Kirins of mythical races, green dragons, and blue sea sprites with faith skills, ginseng babies that could self-destruct and revive totems, and an ancient heroic spirit that could control several overlord undead and possess beast tamers to increase beast tamers' battle power greatly. Chapter 874, 874 Living Mythical History, 3. 874 Living Mythical History, 3. To be honest, back then, when he saw Shiyu participate in the National League, President Lin originally thought that Shiyu's team was already luxurious enough. Who knew that in less than a year, the team had completed an epic evolution? I'm using the Starry Sky altar to hatch that pet egg on the White Rose family's side. White Rose family, President Lin was stunned. Is there enough time? Don't delay the archaeological conference. Shiyu smiled. Don't worry, it won't be delayed. Moreover, there would be a big surprise. He had obtained many secrets of the mythical era from Chi. It was definitely shocking enough. It was definitely explosive enough to shake the 7 countries. At that time, he would credit it by saying it was in Ling's memories where they had spied on this info in the fossil dream. He wondered how many resources he could get. At the same time, the White Rose family learned of Shiyu's arrival. Legend Fu's wife, Legend Lucille's father, and 2 more legends returned to the family. The configuration of a family of 4 legends could be said to be quite luxurious. No wonder it was a super big family in Rongguang. That night, Shiyu was invited to participate in the White Rose family's banquet. Although he couldn't be bothered to go, it was difficult to refuse the other party's hospitality. Shiyu could only go and enjoy Rongguang's big meal. Ha ha ha, Dr. Shiyu, cheers! The patriarch of the White Rose family, Legend Lucille's father, said happily, heroes really come from young people. I heard that Dr. Shiyu's expression didn't change when he faced Aldrich of the Demon Nation today and even scared him away. Dr. Shiyu, are you only a level 6 beast tamer? Shiyu smiled and said, it's not that exaggerated. It's just that this is Rongguang's territory, and that fallen angel doesn't want to cause trouble. Dr. Shiyu, your strength is definitely outstanding. Fu Jian's mother, a brown-haired beautiful woman, smiled and said, I heard that this girl, Lucille, even challenged you, Dr. Shiyu. Shiyu looked at the golden ponytailed woman who was also looking at him. If Shiyu remembered correctly, the other party's pet at that time was a type of unicorn. Name: Holy Lightning Beast. Attributes: Light, Thunder. Race level: Mid-level Overlord. Level of growth: Overlord. Energy points: 68,120,000. It was barely enough to be a top-notch Overlord. It was neither strong nor weak. Yes. Shiyu nodded and said, "Can we do it tomorrow afternoon?" The pet egg can be hatched tomorrow afternoon. He would fight before leaving. Otherwise, if he beat her and still stayed in her house, Shiyu would feel uncomfortable. No problem, Lucille said. Dr. Shiyu, you decide the rules. Shiyu smiled and said, then let's fight 1 vs 1 with our strongest pets. Sure. Lucille had no problem with it. Then, she recalled the information she knew about Shiyu. Shiyu's strongest pet. Which one was it? Fu Jian was wishing that she'd fight that iron-eating beast. In the blink of an eye, it was the next day. Shiyu didn't sleep the whole night. He meditated and accompanied Ling to study the space beast egg. At that moment, Ling had already completely confirmed the 3 starlight nutrients needed for the space beast egg. The hatching progress of the pet egg was also about to approach 3/4. If it was said that it was still a little difficult to deduce what the remaining nutrients needed from the previous 2/4, then from the 3/4 deduction, it was relatively easier for Ling. Ling, do you think the one hatched from this egg is one of the 3 monsters Qi mentioned? The possibility of a huge beast devouring the laws of the planet shouldn't be high. According to Ling's description, this huge beast was larger than any divine beast. When it appeared, it covered the sky and covered the sun. It might be able to destroy a country with a stomp. It was impossible to hatch from such a small pet egg, right? Insects that also mastered the devouring power? That was indeed a possibility. Considering that the Space Emperor had asked the Void Mantis to look after the egg, the possibility was not small. Apart from that, there was also a mysterious race that might be related to the Abyss Sea, Yunnan, and the Dark Mother Tree. This race was good at pollution, mainly poison and dark elements. Considering that the purple patterns of the pet egg were very compatible with the poison element, it didn't seem impossible. However, if that was the case, Susu would be furious after wasting so much effort to hatch. It might as well have listened to the cat and sold the egg. We can't rule out these possibilities, but it's also possible that it's outside the 3, Ling said. After all, the power of starlight it absorbs is very gentle. It's very difficult to connect it to these 3 creatures. All right, all right. If you're done researching, prepare to fight later. Ling? Why is it me, Master? The white-haired girl in the Rubik's Cube was immediately stunned. It knew that Shiyu and Lucille had a battle, but it never expected that Shiyu would actually let a working girl who had worked hard all night to fight. Even capitalists weren't so black-hearted. Shiyu was stunned. Isn't it because I like you better? Ling. It was actually speechless. Was he sure it wasn't because he couldn't be bothered to inform and summon a new pet? It was more convenient to use the pet beside him, wasn't it? All right, all right. Ling resigned to its fate. Around 4 in the afternoon. After the space beast egg finished absorbing the starlight, Shiyu called Lucille over. Soon, Lucille, who was wearing a white golden striped Knight of Glory suit, came to the back mountain energetically. She looked at Shiyu energetically and said, Dr. Shiyu, are you done here? Chapter 875 Living Mythical History, 4. 875 Living Mythical History, 4. Yeah. Then let's go to the family arena? The defense facilities of the Overlord rules can be activated over there. As a legendary family, a battle venue that could withstand Overlord-level battles was necessary. Shiyu smiled and said, sorry, I suddenly have something urgent to do because I still have to participate in the archaeological conference tomorrow. If you don't mind, how about coming to my ruined space to fight? Mine is a high-level ruined space and can also withstand Overlord-level battles. Why don't we do it here? Lucille was stunned. Originally, her family had even told her to call them when they fought. However, seeing Shiyu in such a hurry, Lucille hesitated. Shiyu didn't even give this girl time to react. He directly opened the teleportation passage of the legendary ruins and signaled Lucille to come in. In the legendary ruins, Lucille, who had entered for no reason, had a headache. Forget it, after the battle ended, she would review it for her father and the others. Standing in the flat legendary ruins, Lucille observed her surroundings and determined that this was a relatively high-level ruined space. She couldn't help but sigh at Shiyu's heritage. Dr. Shiyu, this is the pet I want to use to fight. Lucille directly sent out her trump card pet, the Holy Lightning Beast. Under the surrounding light, a pet that looked like a white horse with a spiral horn on its forehead and wings appeared with white lightning patterns on its huge body. Wu tilde, its eyes lit up as it looked at Shiyu. My pet is this. Shiyu gestured to Ling, who was floating beside him, that it was his battle target. At this moment, Lucille was silent as she observed Ling. The energy value was still more than 20 million. A day ago, she observed that this mechanical life form had more than 20 million energy points, and now, it was still this value. If this was the explosive state, she felt that it was a little unreasonable. Which pet maintained a battle power eruption state at all times? The burden was too great. Therefore, don't tell her that this energy value that was at the Overlord level was only its normal state. It does seem possible. This Dr. Shiyu developed a mechanical phantom beast. With the support of Dong Huang, his attainments in the mechanic class are definitely the strongest. This pet has reached more than 20 million normal energy points at the monarch level. It must be Shiyu's trump card. Looks like this Dr. Shiyu didn't choose to contract an overlord above his level with a level 6 body like the beast tamer of the totem country. Instead, he chose to strengthen a monarch comparable to an overlord. This way, there's almost no burden on his body. Lucille kept analyzing in her heart. However, if that was all, how could Shiyu scare the fallen angel away? Lucille was at a loss. Although 20 million normal energy points was extremely rare at the monarch level, and this was the first time she had seen it, at this level, forget about shocking the fallen angel back, it was even a problem if it could defeat her. Could it be that Shiyu had relied on other external forces to make the fallen angel retreat? But before Lucille could think too much, her expression suddenly changed. This was because the mechanical life form that looked like a Rubik's Cube suddenly turned into a whirlwind and wrapped around Shiyu's arm. Then, a huge sniper rifle nearly 2 meters long appeared in Shiyu's hand. High-level mechanic skill, loading. Armed. Beep beep. At this moment, Lucille's expression changed drastically. This was because the mechanical life form with more than 20 million energy points just now had increased to 73 million energy points as it possessed Shiyu. This increase. She suddenly looked at Shiyu. This move was similar to possession and fusion talent. The increase depended on the skill proficiency and the physique of the beast tamer. But no matter what, raising the energy value of a monarch-level pet to the level of a top-notch overlord at once was still a little unacceptable to Lucille. Come and fight. Shiyu had already aimed his gun at the Holy Unicorn. He had already made it easy enough for her. It was just a fusion. He had yet to let Ling use the mythical revival. His physique was indeed a little stronger. After all, he had received feedback from the mythical iron-eating beast and the power of the green dragon when he reached his limit. At this moment, a dazzling light condensed at the muzzle of the huge sniper rifle. Apart from green, this light also had orange, red, blue, and golden colors. There were 4 powers: wind, fire, water, and lightning. Apart from its own wind power, when Ling was researching the fusion mecha, it also modified and upgraded itself. Its body had the ability to carry other attributes, although it wasn't as powerful as the wind power. For elements. At this moment, seeing Shiyu crazily control the power of the 4 elements at the same time, Lucille immediately felt threatened. She immediately had a very serious expression and said, "White Thunder." Boom! The Holy Lightning Beast, which had already mastered the power of White Lightning, fused with Lucille's power of White Lightning, immediately increasing the strength of the Holy Unicorn's White Lightning by a level. It took a few steps forward from perfection to transcendent proficiency. The destructive power enhanced by the white thunder alone was even stronger than the thunder element's strengthening talent. Wu tilde 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 the white lightning sword condensed on the horn of the holy lightning beast. Holy lightning sword! It should be enough to deal with it, Lucille thought. However, in the next moment, her expression changed again. At this moment, seeing the power of the holy lightning sword, Shi Yu and the others actually ignored the stability of their moves. Under the fusion of the wind spirit bead, the 4 attribute powers were overloaded by Ling. They were about to explode. Even from afar, Lucille could sense the violent, chaotic, and destructive energy fluctuations at the muzzle of the mechanical sniper rifle. Chapter 876 Living Mythical History 5 876 Living Mythical History 5 How could this energy wave be controlled? In fact, this was the effect Shi Yu and Ling wanted. Boom! Through top-notch intelligence calculations, within the acceptable range, the fusion of the 4 powers indeed exploded. However, it didn't hurt Shi Yu and the others at all. Instead, through the skill turning misfortune into luck, it converted the damage it suffered into stronger attack power, and reflected it back at the opponent. This was an attack method with top-notch intelligence as the core strategy. Boom! Initially, Lucille was still judging if this attack would cause the machine to explode, but in the next moment, an even greater energy wave than before attacked, instantly stunning Lucille. The 4-colored pillar of light directly collided with the holy lightning sword that slashed over. 2 violent shock waves instantly lingered, stirring up energy tides that filled the sky and devouring both parties. At this moment, just the aftermath of the collision of moves made the holy lightning beast quickly condense a light screen to protect itself. As for Lucille, she instantly entered an ethereal state to avoid the damage. However, during this process, what made the ethereal Lucille unable to understand was that Shi Yu's figure opposite directly endured the impact of the aftermath and raised the sniper rifle again. Shoot it, Ling! As Shi Yu finished speaking, the entire sniper rifle's body kept extending and lengthening at an unbelievable speed against the shock wave. Soon, this mechanical sniper rifle turned into a sniper rifle dozens of meters long as Lucille turned ethereal and couldn't move. The muzzle was directly pressed against Lucille's forehead in the ethereal state. For Shi Yu and Ling, who had such physiques and mastered turning misfortune into luck, trying to dodge the damage would be the greatest disrespect to this skill. Moreover, using the heart strike, supervision, and top-notch intelligence, Ling could also quickly analyze the weakest spot of the aftermath of the move and attack. Throughout the entire battle, Ling carefully calculated, including the angle and power of the first attack. In order to let the holy lightning beast withstand the most important aftermath and not have the time to care about the beast tamer, they could take advantage of this gap to snipe the beast tamer herself in the easiest way and end the battle. You lost. Its bullets are enough to penetrate the void. At this moment, holding a sniper rifle dozens of meters tall, Shi Yu spoke to the female knight whose expression had frozen in her ethereal state. At this moment, Lucille felt that she had lost for no reason the whole time. She looked at the gun in front of her and trembled. At the side, the holy lightning beast also looked at the beast tamer and the enemy in shock, at a loss. Miss Lucille, although your strength is not bad, your battle experience is a little poor. You might encounter a lot of danger in the world tournament. Please pay attention to protecting yourselves next time. Shi Yu smiled. The super long sniper rifle turned into a breeze and disappeared. However, the enemies of the world tournament might not necessarily have Ling's reaction speed and control over the situation. However, it was rare for the other party to let him use the Starry Sky altar. Shi Yu still emphasized on reminding her. Perhaps he could make the other party be more careful and avoid a disaster. You guys, at this moment, Lucille's heart was still beating. She looked at the calm Shi Yu opposite her and suddenly understood the feelings of the fallen angel, Aldrich. Her woman's intuition told her that the real Shi Yu was 10,000 times more terrifying than what she was facing now. Although he was only level 6, the other party was definitely not as simple as a level 6 beast tamer. She had never seen such a calm and relaxed level 6 beast tamer facing a legend. It was as if the other party was standing at a higher realm, a realm that was enough to dominate the life and death of totems, looking down at her. Chapter 877, 877 Shi Yu Telling Myths. 877 Shi Yu Telling Myths. After the battle, Shi Yu slipped away. The confused contestants of the Rongguang World Tournament were left in a daze at the back of the mountain. At the same time, at Dong Huang's residence, Shi Yu, who had a worm dragon-looking thing in his pocket, teleported back to his residence. Rongguang arranged separate villas for the personnel of every country according to the list provided by the various countries. Shi Yu was naturally no exception. After arriving at the destination, Buggy was put back by Shi Yu. Buggy was in a hurry. It even had an arm wrestling battle with its leader. Just as he was about to start, Shi Yu called him over to be a driver. It had consumed a lot of physical strength. If it lost, it would definitely be because it wasn't at its peak state. "Hey, you're finally back." When Shi Yu returned, he didn't expect the gem cat to be here. From the looks of it, it seemed to be waiting for him in his residence. "Teacher Ying, long time no see." Shi Yu chuckled. "Who?" The gem cat was stunned. It frowned and said, "You look like you have ill intentions." "No. In fact, Shi Yu just wanted to know if the current 11 and Buggy could defeat Teacher Cat." The gem cat didn't seem to know that 11 and Buggy had already evolved. "I just want to ask you if you want to eat turtle meat, tiger meat, dragon meat, and beef." "Who?" The gem cat was stunned. Why did it sound so familiar? Those puppets? The gem cat's face darkened. "You've been using them for so long, and they're not fresh anymore. What the hell am I supposed to eat?" If it were at the Overlord level, it would have to try it no matter what, but it was already at the totem level. The gem cat didn't plan to let itself suffer anymore. No, I still have something to do. I heard that when you came here yesterday, you had a conflict with the eldest prince of some demon country. I even heard that you scared the other party away with just a look. Is this for real? Is it that exaggerated?" The gem cat muttered and looked at Shi Yu. It had asked around. An invincible overlord. It was close to a totem. At least it had the power of this cat at the overlord level. That bird person? It's real. Teacher Ying, do you want to know why? Shi Yu chuckled and said, "Do you want to fight?" Who? The gem cat was stunned. What did he mean? This guy was too arrogant. The gem cat's impression of Shi Yu was still from the battle in the Heavenly Fox Nation. However, looking at Shi Yu's smug expression, the gem cat's heart skipped a beat. It realized that Shi Yu had probably improved greatly again. At this moment, Shi Yu opened the door of the legendary ruins. The gem cat was stunned for a moment before entering. This time, its expression was extremely shocked. In the legendary ruins, a 10,000-meter-long green dragon circled in the sky. It had 2 golden horns on its head and was covered in green scales. Golden flames of spiritual faith burned in its eyes and tail, and its image was extremely shocking. At this moment, this huge divine dragon stretched out its claws and collided with another huge beast opposite. It was an iron-eating beast more than 1,000 meters tall. Its entire body also emitted a terrifying aura. It stretched out its bare paw and squeezed with the other party's dragon claws. There were no fancy skills. It was just the collision of pure physical strength. Under the collision, the entire legendary ruin space kept shaking. The gem cat was familiar with this legendary ruin space. It was from Ji Mengzhu, the one where baby ginseng self-destructed. However, at this moment, the gem cat was shocked to discover that the 2 huge beasts only collided with their physical strength. The entire ruin space experienced a vibration close to that self-destruction. Boom! In fact, to be precise, it wasn't that the 2 weren't using skills at all. It was just that these skills had become normal and turned into physiques. 11 had various body forging skills and physique skills, while Buggy had already integrated the concept of the perfect dragon and the green dragon into its new body through evolution. It was equivalent to the normal state being the state where the dragon of imagination strengthened its body to the limit. Boom! At this moment, the two pets almost shook the space with their physical strength alone. With a crack, the gem cat also heard the sound of bones breaking along with the vibration. The huge green dragon's dragon claw seemed to have been broken in an instant. Then, Buggy's huge body was sent flying by the panda opposite with a palm wind that squeezed the air. Roar! Buggy was extremely indignant. Damn it, just relying on physical strength, it was still inferior to the leader. Roar! 11 roared excitedly. Again! This, looking at the collision of the two huge beasts, the gem cat beside him was slightly stunned. It was difficult to imagine that this was purely physical strength. Moreover, if it used skills like Thunder Palm and Spacequake, how terrifying the destructive power would be. That's 11 and Buggy. The gem cat couldn't accept it. What was going on? Why did 11 and Buggy become like this after a while? Overlord level. Without a doubt, both pets had reached the Overlord level. It looked at Shiyu and completely didn't expect that after returning from Tingxiang, Shiyu would actually contract 2 overlords above his level. Moreover, the gem cat opened its blue gem eye and could clearly determine that 11 and Buggy's energy level was already a fraction of its own. It definitely exceeded 100 million. In terms of physique, it even exceeded it, especially 11. Apart from those totem levels that specialized in body tempering, such as the destructive divine mammoth of the divine elephant nation, it was probably difficult to find a match for it even among the totem levels. Chapter 878, 878 Shiyu Telling Myths, 2. 878 Shiyu Telling Myths, 2. This. For the World Tournament, I cultivated hard for a period of time and made some small progress. Teacher Ying, do you want to give them sudden training before the World Tournament? The gem cat? I still have something to do. I still have to help Qingyi train her mental strength. I'm leaving. The gem cat directly crawled out of the door and left the legendary ruins. It was indignant. It didn't understand why it couldn't keep up with the version after just running around exploring ruins with Lu Qingyi. It could tell that Shiyu wanted to use it as a whetstone. It wouldn't fall for it. Shiyu was stunned. Why was it running? He was serious. He really wanted to know how big the difference between 11 and Buggy was from a real totem now. Forget it, it was better to continue preparing for the archaeological conference. Time was tight. He still had one last important thing to do. At this moment, the archaeologists of the 7 countries were preparing for the archaeological conference tomorrow. In fact, there was nothing to prepare for battle. He just wanted to think about how to showcase his archaeological results tomorrow. The most important thing was to let the judges determine that the archaeological results were real. This was the most important thing. Otherwise, anyone could brag. As one of the prep personnel of Donghuang, President Lin and the others didn't disturb him. In the blink of an eye, it was the next day. The so-called World Archaeological Conference was actually a private discussion. Only a small number of elites of the 7 countries could participate. On the surface, the judges were the presidents of the Beast Tamer Association of the 7 countries, such as President Lin Xiao of Donghuang and President Orland of Tingxiang. In secret, the final decision was made by the legends of the 7 countries to decide the distribution of the 12 mythical resources. Apart from these 14 heavyweight judges, there were no other unrelated people waiting. The scene was filled with archaeologist representatives from various countries, elite figures in the archaeological field of various countries. On the day of the archaeological conference, the archaeological teams of the 7 countries sat down one after another. In fact, there were only dozens of people added together. Among them, Donghuang's was naturally the members of Bureau 11. Shiyu, Principal Feng, Lu Qingyi, and the others were all there. As for the elites of the archaeological world in other countries, apart from legend Xiao Yuan, who he had met once in the Phoenix ruins on the 7 islands, Shiyu had never come into contact with any of them. Of course, this was Shiyu's perspective. In the Snowfield country, two old men in archaeological clothes looked at Dong Huang solemnly. At that time, they had also seen the phenomenon of buggy just evolving in the starry sky. However, these two snowfield archaeologists still didn't know where the green dragon came from. The legendaries should be present too. Shiyu sat on the chair and inexplicably felt a sense of pressure. He took a deep breath and adjusted. He looked at the surrounding void. He had shocking beast instincts that far exceeded ordinary legends. This kid seems to be able to sense us. The Elven Empress, Silphra, smiled. In another space, at this moment, the 7 legends were each watching the archaeological conference from different directions. This was also part of the information exchange between the 7 countries. As the true rulers of the 7 countries, they naturally wouldn't be absent. Is he Shiyu? The mechanical legendary of the Shenfeng nation, the founder of the mechanic class in history, Zed, spoke slowly. He was like a robot, covered in 2-meter-tall humanoid armor, blue, red, and white. Or rather, this was his current main body. In the most recent totem battle, 4 mechanic geniuses rose one after another from 4 different countries. Among them, the geniuses of Shenfeng and Dong Huang became legendary mechanics. The mechanical genius of Snowfield was the first to develop a mechanical life form that ascended to the starry sky. As for the genius doctor of the 7 islands, she was a modified person who had developed the potential of a demigod. As a titled mechanic, she was the mother of the current 7 islands Valkyrie. At that moment, the mechanical legendary of Shenfeng looked at Shiyu with a burning gaze. It was very unhappy with this dishonest kid, the dishonest Dong Huang. It was fine if he developed a mechanical phantom beast, but he actually bought all the ancient fossils of Shenfeng. However, the mechanical legendary of the Shenfeng nation didn't care about the mechanical phantom beast. After all, although the mechanical phantom beast was not bad, after careful research, he discovered that the flaws weren't small. Apart from needing to use fossils, the recovery energy was also a huge expense. Although it was much more practical than normal reproduction of high-level pets, the upper limit of the lifespan of mechanical phantom beasts was also far lower than other mechanical lives and normal flesh lives. For the mechanical legendary of Shenfeng, who stood at a certain height and had even modified a demigod-level mechanical life form, mechanical phantom beasts were worth Shenfeng's attention, but it was not worth Shenfeng giving up other important domains to study with all its might. Unless, it was really as Shiyu had imagined at the mechanical conference, that it could revive mythical fossils, but the Shenfeng mechanical legend knew that this was impossible. It stood at the height of the legendary level. 100 years ago, it had tried to touch the god domain through various technological methods, including researching mythical fossils, but it had all failed. He concluded that in this world where the laws were incomplete, the path of technology couldn't be divine. Otherwise, he would definitely already be a mythical mechanic. Zed, restrain yourself. Do you have any objections to Shiyu? At this moment, seeing Shenfeng legendary Zed staring at Shiyu and even emitting a faint pressure, the mechanical legendary frowned. Zed? Zed looked at Shiyu and understood what he meant. Chapter 879, 879 Shiyu Telling Myths, 3. 879 Shiyu Telling Myths, 3. At this moment, Shiyu's face was pale. It was getting paler and paler. Zed? The Shenfeng mechanical legendary said, what has it got to do with me? It's his own problem. This brat contracted an overlord above his level, right? It's the same as the beast tamers of those totem countries. Weak. He wouldn't go so far as to release pressure on a little kid who wasn't even his age. The other party's face was pale, and it wasn't because of him at all right? The Elven Empress and the other legendaries smiled and didn't say anything. They naturally knew that the divine source was deliberately messing with the Shenfeng legendary. These two people had never gotten along. Shiyu, you look so pale today. On Dong Huang's side, Lu Qingyi was speechless when she saw Shiyu looking like he was about to die on such an important occasion today. Shiyu's physique was clearly very strong. But why was it like this every time? Shiyu was helpless. Wasn't this for the archaeological conference? He had been researching hard these 2 days. Including yesterday, he stayed up late again. Originally, when Buggy evolved, Shiyu quickly recuperated. However, from the looks of it, it was all fake. He was completely strong on the outside, but weak on the inside. He couldn't stay up late and work overtime like before. If he wasn't careful, he would suddenly die. Next, be it the psychic connection skill or the mind domain, they couldn't be used casually. They could only be used as trump cards. Otherwise, unless he ate the ginseng baby, it would be very difficult to heal. Shiyu sucked on the sachet and didn't want to stay any longer in the archaeological conference. He planned to be the first to appear later and leave immediately after that. Looks like everyone is here. At this moment, the 7 presidents of the associations were sitting at the judges' table. The void tore open, and a burly man in golden armor came out of an alternate space and looked at the many archaeological elites present. His expression was dignified, and he looked like a king. Legend of Rongguang, Hero King. In the Rongguang area, the main enemy of the last totem battle was the Demon Kingdom. The Rongguang at that time was purely the colonization of the Demon Kingdom. In that chaotic world, Rongguang gave birth to many heroic figures. Among them, the Hero King was basically the king of all heroes. He led many heroes to end the chaotic world in the Rongguang area and established the Rongguang Kingdom. Welcome to Rongguang. I'm the Hero King, Dylan. The meaning and goal of this World Archaeological Conference is to hope that the 7-Nation Alliance will use history as a reference. The history of the Blue Planet's human race is a disaster history. Only by understanding the historical laws can we better open the future. Therefore, I hope that everyone can communicate freely next. For archaeologists who have obtained information beneficial to the human race of the 7 countries, the 7-Nation Alliance will reward resources according to the importance of the information. There are no restrictions on this exchange meeting. You can go on stage yourselves, but only one person is allowed each time. Everyone knew this model in advance. Under this rule, they definitely had to communicate first. The reason was very simple. If the archaeological results collided, it would definitely be first come, first served. Shiyu had already stood up, but someone was faster than him, making the corners of Shiyu's mouth twitch. It was an archaeologist from Snowfield, an old man in an archaeological suit. He was clearly old, but his hand speed was that of someone who had been single for decades. At this moment, the Hero King had already left and returned to the alternate space. At the judges' table, President Lin smiled and said, "There's no hurry. Let this archaeological master from Snowfield exchange his archaeological results first." The archaeologist from the Snowfield glanced at Shiyu and smiled. Then, he walked onto the booth. "It's Gufu, an archaeologist from the Snowfield. He's a level 6 master. He has ascended to the Starry Sky many times with the help of Snowfield and mainly studied the Starry Sky ruins," Principal Feng said beside Shiyu. At that moment, the gazes of the presidents of the 7-Nation Associations landed on Shiyu, who had sat down again, and Dr. Gufu, who had just gone on stage. They were not unfamiliar with Shiyu and Gufu. The presidents of the associations and archaeologists of other countries had already guessed most of the archaeological results Shiyu wanted to show. He had most likely obtained some secrets about the Totem era through that fossil archaeological machine. As for Gufu's archaeological results, apart from the legendary of Snowfield and the president, the others could only determine that it was related to the Starry Sky. After old Gu Fu went on stage, he coughed 3 times. His body already looked a little weak, but he looked very excited. He said, "I'm Gufu. Just half a month ago, I ascended to the Starry Sky again. We cracked it. A legendary ruin established on the moon, a legendary ruin numbered 12 by our 7-Nation Alliance." As soon as Gu Fu finished speaking, apart from the archaeologists in Snowfield, everyone was in an uproar. Shiyu was no exception. He was slightly stunned. There were a total of 13 ruins on the moon. Ever since humans ascended to the moon, they had only successfully cracked one empty ruin. They couldn't crack the others. Did Shui Yuan successfully crack another one? Ji Yufu said excitedly, this is a legendary ruin left behind by a demigod-level life form from the totem era a million years ago. After it reached the totem level, it kept evolving into a cosmic life form. After cultivating to the demigod level, it finally obtained the ability to survive and travel freely in the starry sky. It's called a star beast. This will be the first post-era life form to land on the moon after the end of the mythical era. After our deciphering, according to the information it left in the ruins, there's a very important message. Chapter 880, 880 Shiyu Telling Myths, 4. 880 Shiyu Telling Myths, 4. Everyone should know that the champions of the World Tournament who have received blessings have all obtained information when communicating with the World Tree. At the moment, the laws of Blue Planet are incomplete, and it's very difficult to break through to the mythical stage, even with its blessings. And we discovered another path to the mythical stage in this ruin. The further away from Blue Planet, the easier it is to touch the power of the natural order and escape the incomplete restraints of Blue Planet. This is the message left behind by that demigod. It once spent 500 years exploring the starry sky and came to such a conclusion. However, the most regrettable thing is that it couldn't break through to the mythical stage in the end and reached the limit of its lifespan. If it was given another 100 years, it might really have a chance. Therefore, it's not wrong for us to explore the starry sky. Developing technology and reaching the depths of the starry sky is the foundation for us to step into the mythical stage. Therefore, I think that the Seven-Nation Alliance working together to develop the cosmic fleet and attack the starry sky is the future of the beast-taming era. We can even open a new era of starry sky pets. Gufu's words caused 1,000 waves. A person's imagination was infinitely big. What he said had actually been imagined by archaeologists and scientists. They thought that outer space was the key to breaking through to the mythical stage, but there was no evidence. And now, with the excavation of this cosmic ruin from the totem era a million years ago, the verification of a demigod-level life form that had explored the cosmos for 500 years undoubtedly added some truth to this statement. Gufu used the technological device on the communication platform to simultaneously display the information they had explored in the cosmic ruins as evidence. Even if it's true, Master Gufu, do you know how much resources it takes to build a battleship that can continuously shuttle through the universe and reach the depths of the starry sky? Do you know how much money is needed to support its navigation? With such resources, with the fact that a life form might break through to the mythical stage, not to mention hundreds of years. Isn't the investment too unstable? An archaeologist from Shenfeng said. But this is also a path, isn't it? Master Gufu looked over. In the alternate space, many legendaries remained silent. This was indeed a path, but at least their generation definitely couldn't afford to wait. There were actually rumors about those who had gone to the depths of the starry sky to break through. However, this time, Shui Yuan had used archaeological methods to produce more concrete evidence. Around this topic, many archaeologists and presidents of the various associations present immediately discussed and argued. Among them, what Shiyu was concerned about was the star beast demigod of this totem era. It was really powerful. It actually broke through the restrictions of Blue Planet at the totem level and headed into the depths of the starry sky to explore. He just didn't know how many lives there were apart from it. It should be the kind of native life form on Blue Planet that returned after exploring the starry sky. Was there anyone who didn't return? Or even, got lost? After an unknown period of time, President Orlan said, "This topic ends here. After the conference, the jury will analyze and collect evidence of this research result. Next, please let the next archaeological master who wants to exchange the results go on stage." As President Orlan finished speaking, everyone's gazes landed on Shiyu, who had not participated in the discussion just now and was sitting at a side. Shiyu indeed didn't have the energy to discuss it. He had half closed his eyes the whole time and was resting. He was so tired. But after it was his turn, Shiyu perked up and walked onto the arena calmly in his white research suit. After walking onto the arena, he looked around like a big boss. Actually, I agree with what Senior Gufu said just now. The future of beast tamers is in the starry sky. As Shiyu finished speaking, everyone was in an uproar. Master Gufu, who had just gone down, looked at this young man from Dong Huang in surprise. However, Shi Yu's next words made the corners of his mouth twitch. However, there's no need for us humans to explore the starry sky yet, not until thousands of years have passed. This isn't the way to break through to the mythical stage. I'm Shi Yu. The corners of Shi Yu's mouth curled up. According to my judgment, if nothing goes wrong, in about 7 years, the laws of Blue Planet will be completely perfected. At that time, the mythical era will revive. From then on, Blue Planet won't have any restrictions that can't break through the mythical stage. What? When Shi Yu finished speaking, all the archaeologists present were stunned. The 7 presidents sitting at the judges' table and the legendary experts guarding the alternate space were stunned. Even President Lin and the mechanical legendary were very shocked. Where did Shi Yu find this explanation? Didn't they agree on a disaster that would end the mythical era? In the end, he predicted the time of the mythical revival the moment he came up and even predicted the exact year. Dr. Shi Yu, you're not kidding, right? Do you have any evidence? The person who asked was the president of the Shenfeng Association. This white-bearded old man looked at Shi Yu with a scrutinizing expression. Shi Yu also looked at him. This was actually told to him by Qi. Before the power completely dissipated, Qi speculated the specific recovery time of the law force. It was 7 years later. At that time, when the laws revived and the world changed drastically, Blue Planet's main body would awaken, and the natural energy would be more abundant. Originally, only at that time would she awaken her memories. Shi Yu's balls hurt now. He originally thought that he still had time, but after chatting with Qi, he realized that the mythical stage was only 7 years away from reviving. He didn't know how strong he could be before that.